A kidney is a funny and unassuming little body part. Most of them are not very large, maybe 4 to 5 inches in length, kidney-shaped, and most of us are born with 2 of them. I was gifted with 2 healthy ones at birth and lived most of my life until last October with both of them. During the time of COVID, one of the unexpected parts of my life was that I ended up with 1. About 2 years ago, my nephew, a 40-something-year-old, sent an email request to extended family describing his kidney failure and his need to be on 3 times a week dialysis. He asked that we spread the word through our networks as he was looking for a donor. At the time, I thought, I don't know anyone who could do that, and I didn't spend much time with the idea. It was around this time that one of my colleagues was out of the office for a few weeks. I later discovered that it was because she had donated a kidney to her mother. Really? I spent considerable time with her asking about the surgery, her recovery, and the outcome for her mother. What I really wanted to know was, what is life like with 1 kidney? Did it limit her physical activities? What is different? Our conversations moved me 1 step closer to considering donation. Enter the time of COVID lockdown. I told my nephew that I'd made contact with the Transplant Institute to let them know that I was considering a donation. Note that interest is not commitment. In the midst of lockdown and the unknowns of COVID, I entered the unknowns of kidney donation. Over the next 6 months, I gave many blood and urine samples to assess my fitness to be a donor for my nephew. The results of these tests were sent to the Avera Institute in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. As a result of the distance, I also had many hours of Zoom and phone interviews with medical staff and social workers to assess my mental and physical health. In the early part of the summer, I traveled to Sioux Falls for 2 days of testing, which included visits with kidney specialists, heart specialists, surgeons, advocates, social workers, and the medical director. Their task was to determine my worthiness for donation. I was still in the interest phase, and not the commitment phase of the decision. I did think, though, that if I were to do this, I wanted to be as physically fit as possible. So I stepped up my physical activity to include 50 to 100 miles of bike riding each week, and I improved my already healthy vegetarian diet to pay special attention to portion size and sufficient protein intake. A week after in-person testing in Sioux Falls, I received notice that my kidney and I were approved for the process. During all the cycling time, I had moved to the commitment phase by focusing on the thought that by donating my kidney, my nephew would be able to discontinue dialysis, and my life would also go on without too many hitches. If my kidney were not a good match for him, we would become part of a chain of successive donations, leading to my nephew getting exactly the kidney he needed. I clearly remember the 5:30 a.m. pre-donation morning walk to the hospital on October 6th. It was quiet, nearly dawn, and I was alone, feeling at ease with my decision. I knew I would be able to get along fine with 1 kidney. My nephew and I were in the hospital at the same time. It was important to me that we got to share this simultaneous experience. The surgeries and recovery were uneventful for both of us. The night before I was to be discharged, however, I worried that I had a fever, either due to an infection or to contracting COVID. Happily, I realized that I felt hot because I had sunburned my face during the day from my desire for outdoor patio time as part of my healing. I left the hospital about 48 hours after my gifting. My nephew was discharged a day or two later and stayed in the area to continue to monitor kidney function and to get good regulation of anti-rejection drugs. All of this happened in spite of the COVID lockdown, not due to it, and with the exception of having one sunburned-inspired worry event, I was not concerned about contracting the virus while in the hospital. In some ways, the gifting of my left kidney has not changed my life in outward ways, save for a small abdominal scar. I continue to bike up to 100 miles per week and to pay close attention to my diet, and I like these outward changes. More importantly, the experience has changed me in inward ways. I think of the gift of time my kidney has given to my nephew. 25 hours more per week to spend with his work and family and young children. And I think of the other 9 people who were part of the chain and who also had new lives with their new kidneys. I am grateful for these changes. Sometimes in gifting, one receives more than they give.